mess. It's been a mess.
All right. You
Round of
what it
applause
is.
on that one.
You know who it is. We are back with another episode of the BG Form podcast with my co-host, Coach Gerald Leo Hayes. This is government name.
Government name. Damn, throwing it out there. Everyone knows.
Mine's Brandon Anthony Gallagher.
Bag.
How about that? How about it?
BAG, by the way, if you have bad audio.
Yes.
I don't want to.
Jerry, how was the week?
Great, aside from fighting this little sickness I got, but, we're pushing through. Still worked from home when I was here, so we're on the up and up. Back to work tomorrow on Saturday, so we'll see how we feel, See how I feel. How about you?
It was good. Got training in. I was actually feeling a little bit ill today. Fatigued. I think my nose feels a little bit like, not stuffy, but like burny. A little burny.
A little dry air over there in Albany, New York.
A little Barney Williams, yeah, if you know that
We got
one.
the humidifier running in the background over here.
Yeah,
keeping things
how's working out back in
lubricated.
Colorado?
Bro, I'm not adapted at all. I am, but I'm not. Like, the lifts are easy. I was using, aside from when I was sick, I was telling Brandon that I had to go 20 pounds lighter on every little thing that I was doing. The day that I started to feel sick, which was Wednesday, today's Friday, so I had to take yesterday off because I was just TMI, just sickness. But going into the workouts, I felt good, but any cardio I do, I'm just whew, God, it's gonna take a minute. So I'm thinking after a month and a half, maybe 2 months max, I'll be back to feeling like I'm not at altitude. Honestly, the workouts are fine. It's the sleep. I wake up 10, 15 times every night just because I'm not used to sleeping at altitude, so my recovery's been shit, which is probably why I'm sick. But it is what it is. Every time I go to sea level, if I'm going on vacation, I go to sea level, I'll go to sleep, and I sleep like a baby. It's insane. So, just a lack of oxygen.
That sounds like human stuff. I'm not human.
Yeah.
I don't deal with
You
it.
got superhuman android Brandon over here.
No, well, I hope you sleep better. Because
Brandon walks into a building and he doesn't see an occupancy. He just sees a list of targets and he just like Predator, little triangles all over.
I haven't spent a lot of time in altitude. I think first and only time I saw Jerry in Colorado was before I started my travels. When
It was,
we watched
yeah.
I Think You Should Leave for the first time.
Yeah, you cried so hard laughing at that
was
one
so
scene.
funny.
Caleb went, he was choking, if you know that episode.
You ever watched I Think
But-
You Should Leave? If not, take the time, watch it. It's one of the best shows ever.
If you're a woman, it's hit or miss. 50-50, you'll like it, you'll hate it. If you're a guy, you'll probably be confused at first, but then you'll be quoting it for every little thing that you do.
Exactly.
So-
Once you watch that show, it just comes up in everyday life, and you just have the quotes ready.
Yeah.
Literally, it works.
And then you
But
just start talking like him. Yeah, it's never ending.
today, we're gonna be talking about how to get back into the holiday or into the routine after the holidays. How to get back into the holidays after the end. That's what this podcast is about. Just kidding. It's about how to get back into routine after the holidays end. Because got the idea for this episode at the gym today because, well, actually, my girlfriend gave me this idea, but I was reiterated by this idea because I was at the gym today and it was dead. It was a Friday afternoon. We're filming this on a Friday, and it was completely dead. And it's the first full week of January this week, and it was a little bit confusing because it should be packed, right? You'd think.
Was it dead all week? Or just today?
No, well, just today. I mean, yesterday wasn't too packed. Around the time we go is a little bit less packed, but it's also probably the first full week back to work. Could be a lot of things, but got me kind of thinking. How do you get back into a routine after the holidays, especially if you've let yourself go? With someone like myself or someone like, yourself, you had a big move, so obviously there's a little bit of a, leniency there. But if you didn't have a routine before, or if you had a routine and you have fallen off of that routine, how do you actually get back into it after the holidays? Because the holidays there's a couple big things that I've had some conversations with already with clients about the holidays and about just the new year in general. So today I want to talk about our experience with it and how we recommend getting back into a routine that gets you back and keeps you moving, so that next year hopefully that doesn't happen again. And you know, if it does happen consistently, we know exactly what we need to do when the time does come to get back into it. And I think that, to start, I guess my first question is like, how do we actually get back to routine after the holidays? And I think it's first understanding that in the holidays, there's, and this is something I had a conversation with yesterday, 2 days ago with one of my clients. It was like, you kind of have to be aware that with the holidays, there's like a huge emotional drop, right? Like you go from all this like family time and love and presents and, Christmas and lights and whatever. And then it's just like, boom, back to reality. And I think a lot of people
I hate that part.
are aware of that feeling. And I think they come out of it being like, ugh, I feel like garbage. Like I just don't feel good. And I think it's really important to understand that that's normal. And there's like a reason why that's happening. It's not just like there's nothing wrong with you. It's just you're going from like a high of the holidays, which everybody's loving, well, for the most part. Everybody's loving, everybody loves Christmas. There's gift giving, there's exchanging, and then it's just like, cool, get back to work. And it's just not easy. Even myself, like I miss Christmas. I love Christmas, and like when it's not Christmas anymore, it's like, dang, like I miss the couple days before, I miss the couple days after, I miss the feeling of like getting excited about it. And that's just how life works. Like there's going to be exciting moments in life, and then there's going to be kind of like back to basics, boring moments. And I think step number one is realizing that. And I think realizing that there's nothing going on with you that's wrong. It's just how life works, right? Was there anything like, would you agree with that statement?
100%, dude. It hits me every year because like it's the time of year that I love the most. My birthday is there, then first it's Thanksgiving, my birthday, then Christmas, then New Year's. So it's like 4 big things for me, and then it's just like flatness.
Yeah.
I look around and the sky is just gray, but there's no Christmas lights, and it's like, what's the point of that? Like, so I definitely it hits home when you say that. So
yeah, and I think that's a good example. Is like, you're a really good example. You have your birthday, right? So it's like Thanksgiving, your birthday, Christmas, and then it's like boom, right? And you have that dip, and you have kind of like that fall from grace, we'll call it, and you just kind of wake up and you're like, I don't really feel like doing this, or I got to get back to work or into the routine. It's really hard. And I think, like I said, being aware of that first is really crucial. And then second, I think, is just understanding, like, if you didn't have a routine before, we're going to talk about a couple main ways, but it's like slowing down, figuring out what works best into the schedule, understanding that like getting back to work is going to be energy draining, getting back into regular eating habits is going to be draining, because you go from Christmas where a lot of people just eat and they don't really like count calories for that point, and then we just got to get back into it. And I think for myself, like, it's easy because I like my life and routine is the gym, and I spend time there and I train my clients there. So for someone like myself, obviously it's already built into my life because it's literally like my career. But when it's not those extra days off, when there isn't the short weeks of work, it's just very taxing. And I think we get back into the holidays by really just kind of putting our foot down, being aware, and going back into it, right? And just understanding that again, when the work comes, meaning like actual work, like I got to go to job work, we can prepare for it by getting back into the routine, right? And not really falling off the wagon too much, and allowing ourselves to really focus on that as being the main driver. Because, while I don't have a normal day-to-day job, and I kind of like work through the holidays, there really is no like stop for me as I work. But there is a point, like I said, where it's really exciting for Christmas, and it's really exciting to get gifts and give gifts and see people happy and all that stuff, and spend time with your family. And I think it's so important, and really it's important to keep the routine during Christmas so you don't miss out on it. But when we're getting back into it, it really is just about setting it, getting back, like setting the schedule, really working hard and putting yourself, or not putting yourself, but pushing yourself to get there and build that routine as quick as possible.
Yeah, the one of the harder things for me is like naturally when the holidays hit, yeah, I try to keep my routine and I usually do. Like but my routine times change. So like instead of waking up at 4:50 in the morning, I'll wake up at like 7 and then I'll go to bed like around the same time still. I'll just get a little more sleep than usual. So I always feel really good from the holidays from like the increased dopamine hit from just like again, holiday spirit and like being around family and friends and loved ones and then on top of that I'm getting better sleep because like I start to fall into my natural
Yeah,
sleep
that's a
pattern
good
rather
night's
than the one
sleep.
that I'm forced into. Um and like I have this thing where like I see it as a mistake, but I also see it as a good. Like good, do it. Like you have the opportunity to actually rest and recover, grow as much as you can in these like few weeks where you have a little more time. But then the way I see it as a mistake is because it's really important to wake up consistently at the same time and have all these routine things set in place that we always talk about on the podcast because it keeps your body expecting what like that routine. Like you're not throwing anything at it randomly. Um, so I would say like the harder part for me is more so like falling into my natural sleep pattern and recovering a little bit better during the holidays. So when things get back to like we call it the regular boring bland like part like after the big holiday spike, I'm not only back in that holiday blandness, but like I'm extra tired because now I'm forcing myself to wake up early. So that's where I see it as a mistake, and that's where I struggle with it a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think again, allowing yourself to just realize like you have to get back to it at some point, and like that's
Mm-hmm.
what makes the holidays so special, is
Mm-hmm.
that feeling and like that energy. It can be energy boosting. It also can be very energy draining. I think it's another thing as well. Understanding how the holidays are for you is a big deal in regards to routine. If you know, and I think a lot of this comes down to why individualized coaching is so important and why actually having a program that's built for you is so important. Because if you know you're somebody who gets really drained after the holidays, maybe you're just not very, in tune with your family, or things just always kind of get hectic around the holidays, then you probably don't want to go from like a holiday party into like a 1 rep max back squat, right? And I think
Yeah.
what tends to happen here is everything we just talked about, right? Like Jerry just talked about with his routine and how he kind of feels after the sleep. How we talked about that big energy dip. We go from eating like excess food into kind of feeling like bad about ourselves eating excess food, and then basically like severely cutting after that. And I think understanding that we need to build in something that actually allows us to enjoy that time and then get back into the full swing of things. And if you're aware of how you feel energy wise and you're drained, probably have a program that's going to allow you to kind of take a couple weeks to get back into the full swing of things, right? If you're
Mm-hmm.
someone like myself who I just do the same thing every day for the most part, then like my training program really doesn't need to change too much, because it doesn't, I'm not changing much in my life or in my schedule. The only thing that's happening is I'm going from it's Christmas and I'm working out to it's New Year's and I'm working out to, all right, back to normal like schedule working out, right? For
Mm-hmm.
someone who's going into Christmas and maybe doesn't have the same gym at home, or they're traveling for for family visits and things like that, and they just don't have access to the same things, or someone like Jerry who just moved a couple states away, you got to work with what you got, but you have to kind of maneuver and build something that actually allows you to get back into the swing of things without overdoing it. Because I think, what and where my head went with not seeing too many people at the gym today is like, all right, how many people this week went 150% and were just like, dang, I just don't feel good, or I can't
Mm-hmm.
move, or whatever the case may be. And then at the end of it are like, well, I tried, maybe again next year. And I don't
Yeah.
think that's the case. Like, I hope that's not the case. I know that's probably the case. That's likely the case for most people. But I think it's really important to kind of give yourself that room to find little wins, and that's directly related to the program that you follow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that when you build that program, it's got to be slow, it's got to be progressible, it's got to give you room to work. If you know before the holidays you have to go home and you don't really enjoy being around your family, or it becomes very draining, or you know, whatever the case may be, then maybe you're hitting that hard block right before you go, and then just kind of coasting through the holidays, getting what you need done. And then when you come back, it's a nice little build up back into a full training program, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're someone like Jerry, who's got a full move and is dealing with a bunch of different changes and whatnot, maybe the training looks even less, and maybe it's just maintaining, getting to the gym, showing up, you know, doing what you need to, like he did now that he was sick the last couple of days. It's like, all right, I just got to drop the weight. I got to do what I can. I got to keep moving and just allow myself the ability to stay consistent, because that's really the most important thing. Is like, if I can keep working out, then I can continue to make progress and set myself up for when, okay, cool, I'm back in the schedule and I can go. And I just think that, you know, if we can give ourselves that time to say, I'm here right now after the holidays, I'm really at step one. And this is if you're experienced, right? If you're someone, you know, I'm at step one. Let me finish this first, this thought. If you're at step one right after the holidays, I'm just going to start here and I'm going to slowly climb my way back up to full-fledged training, where it's like 4 or 5 days a week, full effort, hard workouts, full recovery, that sort of thing, right? Now, if you're new and you're just stepping into the gym for the first time after the holidays and you've never been, then it's even more important to think long-term about, like, all right, what do I want this year to look like? And understand that January and February are the most important months to hit, and make sure you show up as much as possible, like consistently each and every day inside the gym for those first 2 months. Because if you can do that consistently, then the rest of the year is going to be, you know, your likelihood of success for the rest of the year goes up tremendously. I don't have specific numbers for you, but I'm sure it's a lot if we actually looked at it. And, you know, if you're new, it's even more important to understand, like, you can't just jump in and go 110 miles an hour, because by the end of the first week, you're going to be like, dang, this isn't for me. I can't do this. And it's a cliche conversation. We've probably had this conversation how many times over the last couple of years, where it's like, don't go too hard. You're going to, you know, you don't want to burn yourself out. You don't want to get to a point where you don't enjoy going to the gym. And yet we're still here having this conversation because people are still continuing to do it. And I think it's just really important that anybody who listens to this knows that, you know, if you're in one of those two camps, right? Because if realistically, if you're not in one of those two camps, then you probably have your stuff set and you're just going along with it, and it's just a new week of training, right? But if you've fallen off, get that program or get everything in order where it's going to help you kind of build back up. And if it's your first time, just get in, be consistent, and let that thing kind of guide you through the year to show you kind of the framework of success, and then allow towards the end of the year to be where it's like we really start to push things and make real change in our health.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's perfect.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the next thing I kind of wanted to talk about is like how do we stop ourselves from falling off? Because, you know, I think after the holidays, there becomes a heavy feeling of regret. There becomes a heavy feeling of like Jerry kind of said, like feeling bad. You know, like I beat myself up because I ate too much, or I didn't sleep enough, or I didn't spend enough time with my family, or I didn't have enough money for gifts. And you kind of like carry that into the new year, and you carry that into like this guilty, bad self-confidence feeling where it's like, I don't even know what to do. And you start questioning life, and, you know, you go through that whole process of essentially sending yourself down a spiral that could be avoided if you just realize like you're doing your best and you're doing what you can on a daily basis. But I think we stop ourselves from falling off by really either asking for help, right? Like asking someone like myself or asking someone like Jerry to guide us on the process of, you know, finding this journey of fitness and allowing ourselves to continuously create paths for you to succeed in. Or you really have to kind of obviously hold yourself accountable and be honest with yourself about where you're at and where you want to go. Because I think what happens is, and this is why we talked about so much before the holidays, and, you know, we have documents and books that we've written, like, you know, ebooks and whatnot, about how to handle this stuff, because it is very taxing and it is very demanding on you physically and mentally to have to go in and say, all right, I'm trying to lose weight during the holidays with all the cookies and all the food and all this whatever. But like if you do the rest of the year right, then the holidays you can enjoy, right? And I'm not saying like go crazy and eat everything, but you can
Eat a whole
enjoy
cheesecake.
cookies. Yeah, you can enjoy cookies. You can enjoy the special food that you might only get to eat during the holidays or the family time because you've done the work to get there. What happens is during the year is that obviously a ton of people they don't, you know, they don't do the work. Then they get to the holidays, they feel like shit because they didn't do the work, and then they just say, you know, fuck it, I'm just gonna eat whatever I want because, you know, it's the holidays. And then they just continuously fall into this, you know, loop of poor habits, negative feedback, that sort of thing. And I think that if you can allow yourself to understand those steps beforehand, make the holidays enjoyable, then that's how you stop yourself from falling off. Because if you do the work for the first, say, because really the last 2 months of the year, we'll say like Halloween is when it starts, and then, you know, November, December is when it really starts to get, you know, busy with the holidays. That's when people fall off and really start to kind of lose it. But if you're doing the work for the first 10 months of the year, when November and December roll around, I'm going to bet my life on it that you're probably not even going to, you're going to have a routine that you're not going to fall off at all. But even if you do, it's going to be so much easier to get back onto it because, you know, you can enjoy the holidays and just say, hey, I did all the work that I needed to this year, food-wise and workout-wise, and I can take a couple days and do that, right? And it's not the whole 2 months I'm just saying, like, screw it, and I'm going to not work out, and I'm going to eat whatever I want. But, like, when Thanksgiving comes around, get a second plate. You know, when Christmas rolls around, put a plate of cookies on and just enjoy it, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you know, at the end of the day, there's really 4 or 5 days that if we do the work, we can truly enjoy in the holidays, and we can actually make it, like, energy boosting or recovering for the new year. Because I think, obviously, there's a lot of things that go into it where by the end of the year, people make bad decisions, bad habits, terrible kind of like mindsets into the world and into their own life. Then they get to the holidays. A lot of that stuff becomes very heavy because they're around family's asking questions. You're trying to figure out your life, your whatever, this and that. And then it's like that just drained me. And then January rolls around and you got to roll right back into the new year. And people don't think about this stuff. And they just think, oh, well, something's wrong with me. Or, you know, I'm just not made for this. Or it's just not for me. And that's the absolute last thing. It's just constant kind of like this feedback loop of like bad decision, bad action, bad thought, you know, drained. Bad decision, bad action, bad thought, drained. Bad decision, bad action, bad thought, drained, right? And you just go through that process for years and years. And then when you get in front of, you know, a group of family members and they're asking questions and whatever, it can be very tense. And then you leave the holidays, which is supposed to be a really great time, a really fun time, right? You leave feeling worse than when you started, and then your workouts are trash, your nutrition's trash, you physically don't feel the same, and then your year is shot.
Yeah, I think
I
that
rambled there, but I want you to talk.
no, that's what I'm here for. No, with the bad decision, bad action, bad thought, rinse repeat cycle too. I think one of the harder parts is people they fall into this comfort, not only like the dopamine hit of like enjoying the family, the loved ones, the holiday spirit, whatever. They fall into this comfort zone. And it's the same discussion I have. I'm sure you have it with your clients too. When you go on vacation, you still work out, you still lift, and they're like, why? You're on vacation. And it's like, because one, I enjoy it. I enjoy the way it makes me feel, and it's part of my goal is to continue to like move and better myself. And two, if I get off of it for that week, it's going to be harder to keep it rolling when I get back because I'm going to fall into this comfort of like, I'm just doing whatever's easy because our body, that's what we want to do. We want to do whatever's the easiest. We fall into these little pockets of time. Holidays is a big one because there are a lot of things to enjoy and a lot of things that we do for leisure and just for fun that we are chasing not only the dopamine feeling of the spirit, loved ones, all that stuff, but we're chasing the easiness. Just waking up, doing what you have to do, and then just relaxing or doing whatever feels easy for that day. And when you do that, yeah, it's nice because you get to relax and like you're like, yeah, I just feel so stress-free, but then you start to fall behind on the things that matter to you, which is like your energy levels, your self-image, and like how you literally feel like sluggish and like you don't feel like like you feel like a machine with rust. You don't feel like well oiled up and like you're moving easily. Everything is just harder to do. And you're confused because you're like, well, I've been relaxing. Maybe I need to just pull back even more. And instead of doing the thing that is a little harder to do but helps you in the long run, you end up falling into this pit where you're like, well, let me just pull back more, pull back more, pull back more. And then when you try to jump back in, it seems like there's like 7 million hurdles in the way that you have to get over before you can get back on like in the groove, rather than just like, all right, let me just move this little comfort zone out of the way, jump back into this, and then I'll get rolling.
Yeah, I just think like everything you explained is true. Like it's just 100% true, and it's just because you should enjoy the holidays. Like you shouldn't go into the holidays and be drained. I know, like I said, I know that stuff happens, and not everybody is the greatest to be around during the holidays. But like this should be a time that you recharge and come back excited with new thoughts, ideas, hopes, whatever, because that's what this is about. And I think too many people come out of it drained because of everything you just said. And I think that when people start to realize that and they start to kind of put it into perspective, they'll realize like, hey, if I can just do the work beforehand, and then you can still sit and relax and chill and be stress free. You don't have to worry about it. And I think that for most people, at the end of the day, this stuff isn't that serious anyway, right? Like, fitness can be something that is literally just there to make you healthy. And again, being healthy, like the baseline for being healthy is not that high, right, if we're being honest. But fitness obviously can take you a lot of places, and the standards that people have for themselves can be very high, especially when all this other stuff isn't in order. And I think sometimes people look at the gym as like a Band-Aid as opposed to what it actually is, which is like, hey, the gym is here to make you feel better physically, mentally, emotionally, and like actually like biomarker wise make you healthier as an individual. Put more muscle mass on, increase bone density, lower body fat, and create a better like overall human. It doesn't mean you have to be powerlifting or lifting 400 pounds or putting yourself through these grueling workouts ever. And again, one of the things that I think people do in the new year is they try to come in and they try to make up for what they did during the holidays in regards to eating, and they either get hurt, they burn out, they hate it, and then that's why. And it's just this constant bad feedback loop. Like if you did lose it during the holidays and you were eating like crazy and going weren't working out, that's where you're at. That's it. But you don't have to make up for it. You don't have to kill yourself in the gym or do the, you don't have to do 75 hard. I know some people like that and they go about that thing where it's like, hey, I need some structure. Like you don't have to, obviously if it's something like that that's going to get you there and it's going to get you there, then follow it, do it, go along with it, whatever you got to do. If it's not, don't force yourself, right? Get back into a routine is going to work for you, and it's going to put you in the best position to succeed with nutrition, with coaching, or with programming, and get you to that next step where you can actually maintain it, right? Because that's really as simple as it is, and I don't even know if I have anything else to add to it to get in there, because if you just plan this correctly, like we said at the beginning, you can enjoy the holidays and not feel stressed. 2, you can come out of the holidays feeling prepared and ready to kind of take that next step and get back into the normal routine of fitness. And 3, you can actually like sustain fitness through the year and get to where you want to be, so that the next Christmas becomes even more, enjoyable, energy recovery or boosting, and it goes from there.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we covered pretty much every part of that part. That was good.
Anything you want to add to that?
Not to that, no.
I mean, that's it for me. I didn't really have anything else I wanted to talk about, because I think, like I said, I think it's a very straightforward topic. And I think this year, like, I want people to think about this from, like, how you feel right now in this new year is a reflection on the actions that you took the last 2 months, right? Mm-hmm. And then before that, the last 10 months and the last 12 months, right, in total. But that just means right now you can make yourself feel better at this point next year if you just make the right actions or take the right actions and make the right decisions from here on out, right? So when Thanksgiving comes up in 2026, you're feeling prepared and excited to say, hey, I can sit down and I can enjoy pumpkin pie because I worked hard this year. I did everything I needed to do. What's with the face?
Pumpkin pie, bro. What?
Pumpkin pie's the
Fuck
best.
out of here. Apple pie's the best. Anyone who likes anything different is crazy. You can like other pies, but don't say it's better than apple.
Pumpkin pie's way better than apple.
Okay.
Apple pie's good, but pumpkin pie
Whoa.
is better than apple.
Fuck out of here, bro. All right. In the comments, apple or pumpkin. I do want to,
Yeah,
before we close out the podcast, I do want to add
I
one
would
more
even
thing.
go to say that pecan pie is better than apple pie.
Bro, who is this guy?
And depending on who's made it, blueberry pie. I haven't had a good blueberry pie in a while, but
Oh, I wonder if it's because it's a blueberry pie, not an apple.
no,
You know, you want to have a good blueberry pie? Have an apple pie instead. There you go.
No, but I do think like your actions from here on out for the rest of this year, and this is honestly, this might be the last that I talk about it because everyone's probably talking about it within the new year and like how to stay on track. But I do think it's important to talk about from the perspective that we talked about it, and you know, your next Christmas, Thanksgiving kind of last 2 months of the year is directly reflected on what you decide you want to do with it today, right? And you have 10 months to really do as much work as you can in the right way, right? To get there. And like, if you need help, please like reach out to myself, reach out to Jerry. Let us help you. Let us guide you through it. So at the end of next year, you can actually enjoy the holidays and not feel like you regret it or you're drained beyond belief to get into the new year. But I think that's it for me.
Yeah, one more thing I'm going to add is we talked about like when people come back after that break and they go 150%, you're wondering like maybe they went too hard, that's why they're not showing up in the gym.
Yeah.
If you don't know what to do, obviously you could reach out to us for help, but a big piece of advice is if you're typically on a 4 or 5 day program and you've been off for like 3 to 4 weeks, like almost a month, maybe come back, ease into it with some like full body movements for like 3 days in the first week, and then slowly build up. If you only had like a week off, we were talking about this before we started the podcast, is if you only have like a week off,
Completely forgot.
you might be able to just jump right back into your program feeling better than you were at the peak of that program. So having that week off to really sleep, eat, fully recover, you might go back into it feeling better just by having that week off. I know that sometimes, even holidays aside, like if you're go and like you haven't really deloaded or reduced volume in a little bit and you just take a week to yourself to just recover and you go back, a lot of the times you'll feel stronger, feel better. I don't recommend doing it all the time, but sometimes it does help. And I know that holidays are just another time of year where that might happen. So depending on how long you had off, you might have to ease into it in a different way, or you could just jump right back into it. But
Yeah, I
that's the
think
last
you're right.
part
3
that I had
days
to
a
add.
week, full body, you know, at least for a little bit, and then you know, like you said, if you're really, if we're being honest, if you have your routine down, then you can just keep following your program. But full body, touch on like every single piece of your body during the session. Make sure you're training it 2 to 3 times a week with a little bit of cardio in there at a sustainable rate, and you're going to be fine, and you'll be able to get right back into the groove of things once the new year starts. So yeah. I think that's it for me. Obviously, if you have not checked out the podcast, if you're listening to this for the first time, please check us out on YouTube at BG Perform or on Apple or Spotify, and give us a follow on there, give us a like, you know, let us know what you think. Also, we have the newsletter, so that's on my website. If you hop on the website, www.bgperform.com, that's where you'll find the newsletter pop up, and you can sign up for that, as well as you can find www.bgperform.com/training, which is where you will find the form to fill out to train with either myself or Jerry, or you can just reach out to us directly on Instagram. That works as well, at BGPerform_ and at Coach Jerry Hayes. Also, I'm launching a new series with OPEX and Coach RX called Behind the Design with Daniel, Coach Daniel Pearson, who's also a client of mine, and we're working together on this project to basically talk about how coaches design programming. Our first episode was specifically about how I programmed for Daniel when he came to me about coaching. And, we're going to be diving into some cool stuff over the next couple months, weekly at Tuesday at 10:30 live on YouTube if you do want to watch it. If not, there's a recording. But we're going to be diving into a lot of the details behind how we look at programming, how we look at different avatars, and how we would actually design a program there or change things. We're just going to collab, have really good conversation. If you're a coach, you're someone who just loves fitness, stop by, check it out, ask questions. We're there, for about an hour. And I think that's it. I am taking on new clients at ABC. If you are in Albany, I got probably the early mornings available up to about 12. And, if you want to get in on that, shoot me a message. I'm looking to probably find like 1 to 2 more people for in-person training. Always taking clients online as well. So just reach out there and we can get started. That was a lot, but I think that covers about everything.
Yeah, and then for me, I'm taking clients at Kula Sports Performance in Greenwood Village in Colorado, as well as online. So if you guys need help, you're trying to get back on track for the new year, find us. I'll help you out.
Sure. Yes, sir. All right. I appreciate you guys tuning in and listening to this episode. We will see you guys next time.